You've committed to making healthier choices. You've decided to start reading labels and feeding your family healthier options. You go to the store with this new mindset and you pick up 2 oatmeal options. The label on both of them says 100% whole grain oats. That's fantastic, right? Both of them have 27 grams of carbs on the label. Also, sounds reasonable. One says it takes 30 minutes to cook, and the other only takes 90 seconds. Well, the choice is obvious. You're a busy parent. You do not have time to wait 30 minutes for your oatmeal to cook. Here's what the label doesn't tell you. These are 2 entirely, and I mean entirely, different foods. One of them can give you energy, and the other can zap your energy. One of them can increase blood sugar and cause appetite cravings, and the other one can improve your blood sugar and actually reduce cravings.
Welcome to the Foundational Health Podcast, where we provide education and inspiration to help guide you on your journey to look better, feel better, and most importantly, heal better.
Hello and welcome to the Foundational Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Kevin Schultz, and today we are going to talk about how to make carbohydrates healthy again. I think that's something everybody can get behind because everybody loves their carbs, right? But the key is, how do we make them healthy again? The intent of the podcast today is to give you some simple, actionable steps that you can incorporate immediately to dramatically improve your health and the health of your family. There's no question carbs, especially in recent years, have gotten a really bad rap at times and most of the time, and honestly, deservedly so for many of them, but that doesn't apply to all of them. The key is not what is on the label, which, by the way, if you don't know this already, little insider tip, a little insider secret from the food industry, the label is there for one reason. It's designed to sell a product. That's it. So the key is not what is on the label, but instead how that carbohydrate behaves once it enters your body. The more processed a carbohydrate is, the faster it gets absorbed. The faster it gets absorbed changes how your body will react to it. So there's other factors as well that shape how carbohydrate behaves in your body. You have things like fiber content. That's a really, really big one, which we're going to look a little bit closer at. You have food combinations, cooking your food, as well as how active you are on a regular basis. All of those are factors in how carbs react in the body. Let's start with what are carbs. There are 3 macronutrients, we call them, and carbs are one of those macronutrients along with fats and proteins, of course. The term macro means you need them in large amounts in order for your body to function properly. So that's the definition, that your body needs these macronutrients. But an important side note here, carbohydrates are really, you actually don't technically need them. Carbs are the only macronutrient that are not essential technically for human survival, but that doesn't mean they don't have benefits, and it certainly doesn't mean that you should avoid them at all costs and all carbs are evil. Carbs are the body's primary source of energy, and ultimately, if we break it down into the simplest form again, carbs can go into 2, maybe 3 categories. I really look at it as 2 categories. Some places, when you look at carbohydrates, they'll break it down into 3, which is simple carbs, complex carbs, and fiber. For me, it makes more sense just because of the way that they're made up. You have simple carbs, and then you have complex carbs. So it's really 2, and then the fiber is kind of a subcategory of the complex carb. Simple carbs are broken down not just easily, but crazy easy in the body. And then complex carbs take much more time and effort to break them down and to digest them and for those to pass through the digestive system entirely. And that is a very good thing. That is not a bad thing. When something is difficult to digest, difficult in the sense that the body has to slowly break it down and it's a process, that's really good. We're not talking about something that becomes impossible to digest because it's not a whole food. Very, very different with complex carbs. And then fiber is similar to a complex carb and part of complex carbs, but there's a twist, literally. They are twisted together, meaning the fibers are twisted together in a way that your body can't break them down very well at all. So this is also a good thing because this fiber then passes through the digestive system mostly intact. That has very beneficial effects on your digestive health in many ways, including feeding your microbiome, which is the good bacteria, regulating your blood sugar, and then helping you feel full faster and longer. So those are all really, really good things. So simple sugar's bad, complex carbs, fibers, good. And if you're skipping carbs entirely, like in a carnivore diet, I'm not saying don't do that. Different things work for different people. I can tell you why I personally don't do that. If you're skipping carbs entirely, you may be missing out on their number one benefit, which is digestive health and a healthy gut. Fiber especially feeds good bacteria, and that gut bacteria produces critically important vitamins such as vitamin B, vitamin K, and those things, along with many others, just the microbiome being healthier in general, dramatically improves the health of your brain. We know that 90% of serotonin production comes from the gut, actually. And so the healthier the gut, the healthier your brain. And you're missing out on so many of those benefits if you're not getting in good quality fiber on a regular basis to feed that microbiome. Part of the bad rap surrounding carbs is also the mantra that carbs make you fat. I hear this all the time. It drives me nuts. Now, that is absolutely true of processed carbohydrates. So sugar and processed carbohydrates, without a doubt, that is what makes you fat, not fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Good complex carbs, fiber don't make you fat. Processed carbs, sugar break down into your body in a very bad way, and they turn into simple sugars. Your body converts them to fat. And yes, that absolutely slows metabolism. And that is what makes you fat. I assure you, fruits and vegetables will not make you fat. They will not make you gain weight, and they don't slow your metabolism. Fruit juices, however, absolutely can. And that's because you've removed the fiber. You've removed the complex part of the carbohydrate, and now you've turned it into a simple sugar, which is why I highly recommend avoiding fruit juices besides on an occasional treat.
Nutritious is my number one choice for the vast majority of my family supplements. I'm a huge fan of nearly everyone taking what I call the foundational 4 supplements: a multivitamin, a spore-based probiotic, omega-3 fish oil, and vitamin D3 with K2. The large majority of people are deficient in many of these nutrients, and they are the building blocks to gut health, immune system strength, brain health, heart health, and every other aspect of your health. Don't fall into the trap of chasing symptoms with supplements, and instead start to rebuild your health with the foundational 4. We partnered with Nutritious so that you can save 15% on every order, and not just with the foundational 4, but all of your other supplements as well. Go to foundationalhealth365.com. Click on Shop Brands and then Nutritious, set up your account, and you're all set to automatically get 15% off all orders. Now let's get back to the Foundational Health Podcast.
So let's go back to the oatmeal that we talked about at the beginning. The reason you can cook some oatmeal in 90 seconds is because they have stripped away nearly all of the fiber. And now, because it gets instantly broken down and absorbed, you get a quick energy surge followed by a crash. And then soon, guess what? You're hungry again. So you repeat that same pattern, maybe not with oatmeal, but now pasta or potato chips or a candy bar. And this is the horrible, horrible cycle that most people put themselves through on a daily basis. Get their fix, crash, need more because they're hungry again. They get their carb fix, energy surge, crash, hungry again. And most people never break out of that cycle. So when it comes to buying oatmeal, you always want to get steel cut oats. Steel cut because they are the least processed. And if you get those organic, of course, even better, because now you're avoiding the sprayed chemical pesticides. So that's always a good thing. But bare minimum, just getting steel cut, or also very similar is the rolled oats. You always want to do that instead of getting the instant oats or the quick oats. You may have heard of overnight oats. This has become a really popular thing in the social media world. This isn't just a fad of prepping your food the night before. And honestly, that is what I thought the first time that I heard it. When I just heard overnight oats, I'm like, oh, it's just you're preparing them overnight, or preparing them rather the night before so you can eat them easier in the morning. But there's more to it than that. Overnight oats means not cooking your steel cut oats, but instead soaking them overnight in things like milk, kefir, or yogurt, and then eating them in the morning with berries or whatever you want to add to them, because this process makes them more difficult for the body to break down, which again means a healthier response by your body. So if we look at oatmeal from worst to best, it comes down to how much effort your body requires to break it down and to move it through the digestive system. So the worst, absolutely, positively, hopefully you figured this out by now, it's the cooked instant oats, those Quaker oatmeal. That you want to avoid at all costs. Better, cooked steel cut oats, and the best is overnight steel cut oats. Little bonus tip here for rice. You always want to get long grain brown rice, ideally long grain brown wild rice versus white rice. But some people love white rice. If you're eating white rice, you want to cook it, then let it cool completely, and then reheat it before you eat it. And so what this does is it makes the starch more resistant, which slows down the absorption of sugar into your bloodstream. Now, if you do that with long grain wild rice instead of white rice, it becomes even more beneficial. Just like the overnight oats, a lot of people do it with the quick oats, but certainly not anywhere near as beneficial as doing it with the steel cut. Same rule would apply here. Yes, you can do that with wild rice, or white rice rather, and make it better, but why not make it that much better and do it with long grain wild rice? I know why not, and that's the convenience factor, so I get that, but try making the change, and I guarantee you, if you try long grain wild rice, man, it is a completely different food than white rice for a reason. So much healthier, so much better, and in my opinion, tastes remarkably better. Another way that your digestion and health is affected from simple versus complex carbs is chewing, believe it or not. Simple carbs require less or no chewing in the case of things like fruit juices, and as a result, your body produces less saliva, which means less digestive enzymes that are produced in your mouth, and that is not a good thing because those digestive enzymes are the initial stage of helping to break down your food. Cooking, as I mentioned earlier, also affects especially the way your body responds to certain vegetables. But first, before we dive into that a little bit more, we're going to look at fruit. Fruit definitely often gets a bad rap because critics say, and there are a lot of them out there. I have listened to so many podcasts and it drives me nuts because of their very myopic view. They look at one single thing. So the critics say that fruit contains simple sugars because fruit has fructose, and fructose is a simple sugar. All true. And that just means they're looking at one single aspect of fruit and saying, oh, simple sugars are bad. Fruit has simple sugar, therefore it's bad. And that is just not true. What they don't tell you and they don't look at, because they're not applying the common sense filter, is fruit also has fiber. Fruit has vitamins. Fruit has minerals. And all of these things help you process sugar more effectively. So because of its fiber content, it feeds good gut bacteria also. And because of its fiber content, the sugar is released much more slowly into your system than other simple sugars that don't contain fiber. So they are not the same. I don't care if fructose is a simple sugar. When fructose is part of a fruit juice, absolutely. All of those bad things apply. When fructose is part of a whole fruit that contains fiber, those rules can be thrown out the window. And then if you want to make it even better, and this isn't like don't eat fruit unless you do this, not at all. This is just if you want to improve upon the fruit even a little bit more, then if you eat your fruit with a fat like plain grass-fed, full-fat yogurt or kefir, those are my favorites. Absolutely love that. And then you add in some nuts and seeds. My family calls it a magic bowl. I also like to drizzle honey over the top, sprinkle some Baja Gold sea salt in there. This helps with the digestive process. Not all of that. Really, it's the fat. The fat from the nuts and seeds, the yogurts, the kefir, the milk, whatever it is you use in there, when you're using a healthy source, that helps with the digestive process that much more, and it further reduces blood sugar spikes. So if we revert back to my diabetes podcast for diabetics that do want to avoid fruit for a period of time while they're going through our 60-day protocol to reverse diabetes, in this instance, absolutely avoiding fruit because of the sugar that's in there is a good idea. And then as you start to incorporate it, this is a good rule to follow. Eat your fruit with a full fat, with a handful of nuts and seeds. Even if you're not doing yogurt or kefir or milk, eating your fruit with that fat will help to reduce the blood sugar spikes, which is a good thing in those scenarios. Okay, let's shift to veggies. The debate here is always raw versus cooked. And this has been going on forever in the nutritional world. Which one's better? Well, I have the answer for you. They're both good. Raw veggies certainly retain some of their natural enzymes better, and they also have certain vitamins that are retained better. But then cooking, in certain instances, can also boost the availability of some of the other essential nutrients. It can ramp those up that are found in certain vegetables. So both are good, and in my opinion, eating both is actually a great idea. So if we take a quick look at some of the top foods that become more nutritious in some ways, that's key, not always, and I'm not saying like don't eat these raw. They just become more nutritious in some ways when cooked. We're just going to look at, there's a huge list if you go online. In fact, what I recommend, if you really want to look at this closer and have a great idea of all the benefits and what you should do and how you should cook each of them according to a bunch of really good research, Dr. Josh Axe has a great article on this. So just draxe.com. We'll have a link to this in the show notes as well. His article is fantastic. So number one, tomatoes. We know that when you cook tomatoes, you get an increase in lycopene. And here's a perfect example. So lycopene, which a lot of people know, like that's one of the reasons tomatoes can be very beneficial, that goes up when the tomato is cooked. But vitamin C levels actually go down. So this is why the debate shouldn't be raw versus cooked. It shouldn't be one versus the other. Which one should you do? It should be both for most things. Number two, carrots. Beta carotene increases, but this happens, and this is really important, when you keep the skins on the carrots. And then there's also a bunch of research that shows that you shouldn't pan fry carrots because the skin is on there and what that does to them. Instead, you should steam carrots. Number three, spinach and kale. We're going to do a combo here since they're both leafy greens. We know that when you steam these, when you cook spinach and kale, you reduce something called oxalates. And oxalates can be bad, especially if you're a person that eats a lot of raw spinach and kale. We see this in vegetarians, actually, when they're focusing on lots of raw spinach, lots of raw kale, eating it in salads, drinking it in smoothies. It actually, those oxalates will reduce essential minerals like calcium and others. But guess what? When you cook it, that doesn't happen. You reduce the oxalates and then you reduce how oxalates affect calcium and other minerals. Number 4, asparagus. When you cook asparagus, vitamin A, vitamin B9, vitamin C, vitamin E, all of those increase. Number 5, broccoli. Ideally with broccoli to see the benefits, you want to steam it versus cooking in any other way. Number 6, green beans. Green beans, massive difference between when you eat it raw versus when you eat it cooked, and especially steamed. For whatever reason, pressure cooking green beans, not good. Does some bad things to it. But when you steam your green beans, there's tremendous eye health at that point. We see things like lutein and zeaxanthin. Those will increase pretty dramatically. Number 7, zucchini. Zucchini becomes more digestible when you cook it. Number 8, cauliflower. Cauliflower has more anti-cancer compounds when you steam it. Number 9, cabbage. When you steam cabbage, you reduce something called goitrogens. And goitrogens, especially for people that have thyroid issues, those can be very harmful. That can be very problematic. So raw cabbage for somebody that has a thyroid issue existing already, definitely not a good thing. Steaming it, great, because you're reducing the goitrogens at this point. And then number 10, beets. When you steam and cook a beet, you increase the antioxidant levels and the oxalates go down that we talked about earlier. So as I mentioned, Dr. Axe has a great article on this. He talks about those plus many more. So really, really good thing to read and to follow, especially if you want to incorporate or already are incorporating a lot of vegetables into your life. So the key takeaway is don't be afraid of fruits and vegetables, whether they are cooked or raw, and don't be afraid of them because they are carbohydrates especially. Fruits and vegetables will always be a healthier choice than a potato chip. They'll also be a healthier choice than a candy bar. Hopefully that goes without saying. They are just simply not the same. One of them is a God food, and the other one is ultra-processed man food. So certainly today wasn't meant to be a deep dive into the world of carbohydrates, but hopefully it was enough to have you start thinking about them differently, because they are, and then making some better choices because of how your body responds to it. If you do have more questions regarding how to make carbohydrates healthy again, or anything else health related, be sure to reach out to me through my website. The inspirational and educational takeaways from today. Number 1, success equals simple habits performed daily over time. Number 2, knowledge is powerless without action. Start incorporating more complex carbs into your life. Start reducing simple carbs. And then if you aren't ready to get rid of some of the simple carbs quite yet, because I hear that a lot, there's no way you're taking my Pringles away from me. There's no way I am stopping my Snickers bar, whatever it is. Then if you're not ready for that yet, follow the rule that I call add before you subtract. So you just start adding the good stuff in, and then pretty soon you will likely find your cravings for the bad will reduce. You'll also start to notice and recognize how you feel after eating the bad versus how you feel after eating the good, which of course becomes incentive to eat better. As you eat better, you want to move more. As you eat better and move more, you sleep better. And it becomes this amazing good snowball effect instead of the snowball effect that most people have going in the wrong direction. Number 3, you are a leader. Lead by example. If you enjoyed today's podcast and found it beneficial, I want you to think about who needs to hear this message. Be a leader for them. Drop them a text and tell them to check out the Foundational Health Podcast with Dr. Kevin Schultz on how to make carbohydrates healthy again. Until next time, make health your hobby.
Thank you for listening to the Foundational Health Podcast. As always, if you would like to learn more about making health your hobby, visit our website at foundationalhealth365.com and follow me on Facebook at Kevin Schultz DC Foundational Health.